what's going on, people? This is HD BeenDope, and this is BeenDopeSpeaks. On this season, we'll be discussing broken dreams and how it relates to each of our guests. On today's episode, BlackPearlMixedIt. Alright, yo, what's good? We're here today with another episode of BeenDopeSpeaks. Today, we got the man, the myth, the legend, the homie, BlackPearlMixedIt, aka Kev. How you doing, man?
What's up, bro? Thanks for having me.
Nah, thank you for being here. You know, I appreciate your time for real. So for people that aren't aware of who you are, just give them a little background of who you are and, you know, how you got into everything that you're doing.
Yeah, so I do a lot of things. I like to think that I'm like an avid eater of foods, but I'd say like what I do for a living is I mix. I'm a mixer. So basically, once everything gets done recorded, they send it to me. I get all the parts, like each individual drum, each vocal part, guitars, pianos, and I make them sound good. I've been working in the industry for about 10 years. And yeah, just I've worked for producers, for record labels, and right now I just pretty much freelance and just try to find really good artists like HD to work with.
Word. So what I've been doing with everybody that kind of gets on the show is kind of talking about how we linked up. So from your account, what was your introduction to, you know, me, and then how we actually clicked?
Yeah, so I think we definitely met through a mutual acquaintance, which is Brandon Thomas.
Yeah.
But Brandon used to come and show me your record. So Brandon was up at Barai, and he would come down like on holidays because I'm based out of Charlotte, North Carolina, where he's from. And we'd always get some food, and he'd show me these videos, and I'd be like, man, this guy's crazy. Like, I really, really want to work with him. But at the time, you had been consistently doing your own mixing.
Yeah.
So you did like a lot of your own production and were doing a lot of your own mixing. And so I was like, well, you know, Brandon, if there's any way that I could be a part of this, let me know. And I think over time, you ended up sending me a song to master just to see how it would turn out. And we liked it. And then I think basically when you were trying to get the Broken Dreams album completed, you decided to, bring me on. I don't know if it was because of maybe the lack of time that you had against the deadlines, or if maybe it was just you wanted to try a different ear on it, but, you know, you gave me a shot on it. And so you guys came down and we mixed it. And that was really awesome. We got to go to some cool parties, and we got to go to the mountains and do some work up there. Yeah, Player Made, for sure. An ode to Southern hip hop. I'm glad you guys got to see that too. Because a lot of what we do in like just my group of professionals and friends in general were just like about a good time and about cool experiences. So yeah, we bounced around, and then we linked back up to finish it in LA, and that was really awesome too. It was a lot of work, but that's kind of the gist of our interactions over this past year.
Nah, most definitely. Yeah, for me, I wanted you to come along with this project because from the get-go, I was like, yo, I want this to just sound bigger, you know? Like, obviously, me mixing my own records, I'm not like a professional. I haven't really studied any of this shit. Like, I haven't worked under anybody. So when Brandon hit me, it was like, yo, just letting you know, Kev is down if you're willing to, work with him and shit. That was like a moment for me. It was like, oh, damn, shit is like lining up. Cause I'm also a very like, just get it done yourself type of person. Like, I knew that, there was a connection to you through Brandon, but I also didn't want to just be like, yo, you think he would be down to mix these records? I was kind of like, yo, I don't want to impose. I don't even know like if, well, I'm in that position yet,? So I was like, all right, fuck it, I'll do it. But when Brandon hit me like that, I was like, damn, yo, this is perfect, because more than anything, I'm gonna just be able to learn from him, like actually be able to have those conversations and just to understand like a lot of the process of mixing. Cause I feel like even when I'm like doing my own stuff, it's like I'll get to a point where I feel like this doesn't sound the way I want it to sound, but I don't know what I'm doing wrong, And
Right.
being able to like watch you work and just hearing how you're like tweaking drums and shit like that. I was like, damn, yo, this is this
Mhm.
is elite, and even listening back to the project, it's like, oh yeah, this sounds bigger. And I don't think I would have been
Mhm.
able to get that just me in my room doing it. So I'm super thankful that you were, down to even work on that shit.
Oh man, I appreciate you letting me be involved. You'd be surprised at how much bad music I have to work with. So it's like anytime I find someone who's like music I actually like, it's like, yeah, man, let's do it. I don't care, we'll make it work.
I,
But yeah, man, I'm glad you could take something out of that, and like, I think it's all about one of the things too that'll separate you when you do it professionally or like you're kind of doing your own stuff is like you learn a little bit more about depth because I like the way you mix vocals. My
mhm,
vocals are a little bit more sharp than what you would typically mix, and that's something that just stylistically that I do.
yeah,
But I always like how your vocal sounds. So it was cool too, like on some of the stuff where we got to do where well let me mix the drums and get the balance right, but you do your vocals because you I look at things like from an overall perspective a
yeah,
lot more, and where you're like you're a vocalist and this is kind of your instrument, and so like you pay the extra close attention to getting the texture that you want. So that was fun too because I don't typically get to do that.
yeah.
Um, so
Nah, it was
yeah,
a
man, it was a
very
nice
fun project.
experience.
Nah, I appreciate that for real, bro. But where I want to go into, so with this podcast, I kind of talk about, records on the project and, the meaning behind them and then how it
Hmm.
relates to our lives. So I want to dive into Creepin'. So Creepin' is a joint that,
Okay.
on the surface is about two women, right? But the underlying meaning of it is money and art. So there's Monet, is one of the girls, and then Arthena actually just talking
Hmm.
money and art. So you being in the position that you're in, right? We all have to deal with the love of the art versus I gotta still make money. Um, so walk me through those crossroads, if any, that you had to deal with of like, maybe I really care about mixing this record, but maybe this artist is over here and it's gonna, bring me more money, but I don't care to work with that person as much. Just anything that you had to have that crossroads between art and money. Like
Yeah, you're getting deep with this one. Yeah, so I can't stress enough that what we do, as much as it is an art, it's still a job.
for sure.
And especially if you have certain obligations, financial obligations, like I've got 3 kids. So I don't always, I can't just like ride around the US on like a bus and like do whatever I want to do.
Yeah.
So you do have to make sure that the lights stay on, and so that's where the money comes in with
Yeah.
with all this, and um, it's just not realistic to function in the framework of what society is to us today without being able to generate some revenue.
For sure.
Now the cool thing is that it's still a better job than any job I've ever had. And I appreciate that, but it's still
Agreed.
sometimes I have to work with people that I don't want to work with. It's not typically that I don't like them personally. It's more of just like their music, like maybe the content I'm not a big fan of, or it's just not that good to me. But then again, I do have to respect the art side of it that says my opinion is of no significance to how this is received.
Right.
You got to kind of take the ego out of it. So I do find comfort in that, saying like, okay, even though I don't like it, it doesn't mean that other people don't, and that it's not popular to other people, and that it doesn't resonate with other people. Because like me, all day I'll listen to like neo soul, a lot of stuff like British neo soul is coming out. Like that's what I listen to all day long. And so of course, like sometimes like trap records aren't going to touch my soul like I
Yeah.
want them to, but I still I still like them, and I still do them. I think the best takeaway I have it between the money and the art is just don't let the money kill the magic for you in music, because it's very easy to lose sight of that.
Yeah.
Also, when you're getting paid, you should always work on getting paid more money to do less work. So like I think especially as a freelancer, or say you're a musician, like an artist, say you're touring, maybe you're getting $2,000 a show.
Yeah.
We'll try to get to the point where you can get $10,000 a show because you're doing the same amount of work for 5 times the amount of money.
Yeah.
Now the overhead might change a little bit, but or like if you're a mixer, if you're a producer, if you're selling, you got to sell 30 beats at $100 a beat to make $3,000 for you to have rent and food for the month. But if you can sell 2 beats for $1,500, you have a lot more time to devote back into the art because the money's higher. If
Yeah.
that makes sense.
No, 100%.
So, but it's a grind. It's hard to get there. So everything's a balance. It's give and take.
Yeah, always. I feel like this whole life shit is just trying to find a balance in everything, consistently.
Mhm.
So with my version of creeping, like where I made that song from, I was making money outside of my passion, So like you're in a place where you're dealing with everything is still in the passion, the passion of music. I
Mhm.
might be working on music that I don't necessarily care about, but it's still I'm working on music,
Right. It's still music.
Right.
Hmm.
So my shit was more of making money elsewhere and kind of getting to a place of like, yeah, I still like making music, but now I'm kind of just doing it with less of the pursuit in mind. It was more of just like, I'll make it when I make it. And I kind of was losing track of that. So have you ever been in a place where you weren't making the money off the music and there was something else that kind of maybe clouded that where you had a job that you were making good money off of or anything like that?
Hell yeah. But I wasn't making good money, but I
Okay,
just had
okay.
to do it. So I used to work for Hilton Grand Vacations down in Florida,
Yeah.
and that was a decent company to work for, but they don't pay you anything, you know.
Gotcha, gotcha.
But it was a nice company, It was a nice place to be around, and the people were genuinely happy there, which kind of bothered me because I was like, I'd look at it. I think I got paid $10 an hour, you
Mhm.
know, and I used to look and I'd be like, this is $10 an hour, like I can't do anything with this, and all of you guys are okay with this.
Yeah.
And so that always bothered me a lot. And then I got a job right after that, and I was always doing music during this time, but I was kind of like honing my skills and learning how to sell myself as a small business
Mhm.
during this time. So I was doing a full time job, and then I do music full time on top of it. But music wasn't making any money, so at the time, so I didn't have the option of shifting. But then I worked at an apartment complex, and I was a groundskeeper and a housekeeper.
Yeah.
So like every day I'd get up, and I lived on site, so I'd drive my little golf cart up to the front, and like I'd clean up the clubhouse, vacuum, do the windows, all clean toilets, stuff like that. And
Word.
during the day, I'd do like blow breezeways and change like the dog bags,
Hmm.
like yeah, it was just change, just all the stuff. Like I was just too smart and too talented, but I was humble enough to say, well, I have to take care of these obligations while I do it. So when I moved, when I was at the apartment complex, I opened up a studio that failed, which was awesome. You
Hmm.
know, for anybody out there that's trying to start anything, you can't skip that process. You can't skip the failure process.
True.
Even in your own self, when you're trying to grow, growth is never comfortable, and you can't know what to do without messing up. So life is not really knowing the answers or knowing what to do. It's about knowing what not to do. The only way you can figure out what not to do is to put yourself out there. So during that time, I know, hey, I don't want to work these regular jobs. So I tried to do music, and
Yeah.
then that didn't work. And I'm like, well, why didn't it work? Instead of me saying, oh, music doesn't work, we'll say, well, why didn't the music work up there? And well, I was in the wrong city. I didn't have the clientele. I didn't have the look right of the studio. I had the skill set, but to sell it as a commercial business, I needed to learn some things. So when I shifted from where I was at there, then I was like, okay, well, it's time. I'm going to go start working in studios. And then I went to that. And during that time, I was working at studios, and I worked at Guitar Center. And I was like, okay, well, at least I'm around music and I can meet more clientele.
Yeah.
And then, every time I'd get more music and more clientele, I'd cut my hours at Guitar Center. So I eventually got to working like one day a week on Sundays for like 3 hours.
Huh.
And then,
That's fire.
and the my boss, super cool dude, Todd Perry, he was just like, why are you here? And I was like, I don't know, man. He's like, if you want to quit, you could quit. I was like, yeah, I'll just quit. He's like, okay. He's like, if you want a job again, let me know. I'll hire you back. I was like, yeah, hopefully I won't need that.
That's
But,
sick.
and I think that's what a cool way is to look at it too with all this is it's never like night and day. Like you
Yeah.
don't go, it's really hard to go from being like not doing music full time to next week, like putting in a 2 week notice and then you're doing music full time. You have to like it's a eventual shift, and you have to basically get music to the point where you're making enough money, or arts where you're generating enough revenue where it doesn't make sense for you to go to this job anymore.
Right, right, right. No,
And then it's
100%.
hard because then you have bad months, and then it's like slow around Thanksgiving and Christmas. And you're like, did I make a good decision? And then hopefully, if you made the right decision, the universe will put plays in front of you to make some money when you get low. Or it's weird, man. Every time I've ever thought about quitting, something happens, and it's like, look, man, here, I'll throw you just a little
Yeah,
bit to keep you going, you know. And it's like, all right,
100%.
let's keep doing it.
100%.
I just think it's just because we're doing what we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah. I 100% agree with that. Have you ever been in a situation where you felt uh like, you know what, this isn't the right thing for me to be doing? Have you ever gotten there, or from the moment that you realized
Yes.
this was your passion, was it always I'm here?
Well, it has in the sense of the environments that I was in.
Okay.
So I knew, you know, I came up as a kid. I played drums. I was a percussionist through college. I had a music scholarship, and I was in marching band and played in the drum line in college and everything. Um, and so I always loved music, but the environments that I would be in, I would know. So like I worked at a studio one time where like people were trapping out of it, you
Yeah.
know? And like at first it was cool because it looked really cool. And then I would notice like, I don't know who these people are. And they're serving these people in like the kitchen. It was like a really nice kitchen in the studio. And I just was like, look, this isn't a studio. The perception of it is cool, but I can't like grow here because it's not set up to be that. And so
Yeah.
in that sense, I knew like, okay, well, I need to shift. So I went to someplace else where I could grow and did that. And I learned what I could. I learned what I could from the one place, but I was like, all right, this isn't for me. I went to the other place and I'm like, okay, I like this place better, but this is how I would do it different, you know? And so
Mhm.
that eventually led to me opening up my own spot and kind of taking all those lessons. But I've never felt, to answer your question, I've never felt like music is not for me.
Okay. Got you. Got you.
But recently I have been interested in getting into other stuff. Like I want to open an alpaca farm.
Word.
I like, yeah, just like random businesses. I look at myself more as an entrepreneur now
Yeah.
than a mixer. I do a lot of education too, which I really enjoy that. But what I found is the more that you can diversify your revenue streams,
Mhm.
the less reliant you are on one.
One,
So if you
yeah.
have one job where you're making all this money and that drops out from you, you're in deep trouble.
Fucked.
So I
Hell
have
yeah.
like 4 different businesses where I'm making like a decent amount of money at each one.
Yeah.
And that way, if one drops off, I'm only taking, you know, I might make 2,500 or 3 grand a month profit on this one business. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And I've got 4 of them like that. So my goal is to have like 10 of them.
Got you. Got you. Yeah, I
And
think that
so
shit
and
is.
so they don't have to be music related, but you know what I mean. It's sort of like it shifts in molds, and but I've never felt like music wasn't for me.
Yeah. I think one thing that is super ill in everything that you said, especially with you jumping from place to place, is understanding that it's time to grow. Were
Hmm.
you always in a place where it's like you know when it's time to get out, or was that something that you kind of had to sit down and talk with yourself, trying to figure that out? Like, what's the moment for you when you know it's time to get out of here? Like, growth needs to happen.
Uh, that's a really good question. I think it for me it's different aspects of my life. I was in a personal situation that I
Hmm.
stayed in for way too long,
Yeah.
and I didn't have the ability to step away from that like I should have. But in other situations, like recently, I wasn't. It's sort of a gut feeling for me because if I don't like to do something, I don't do it.
Got you.
Like I will eventually, but I noticed that my work ethic starts slacking. You know, and it's not that it takes more time to do something, but like I had a commercial recording facility, the one that you came in and we mixed at.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't want to be there anymore. And I don't know why I didn't want to be there anymore. I just wasn't feeling the vibe and I didn't want to run a recording studio anymore. And I went in right in the beginning of June.
Hmm.
I was supposed to say, so June 1st, I was going to get everything set back up and keep running the studio. Now, keep in mind, I don't even do sessions at the studio. I just pretty much owned it and made sure everything was paid for. And I had a couple really cool people that helped me work it. And I went in there and tried to hook the equipment up. I couldn't even do it. I just brought it there. I just like looked at it. And I'm
Wow.
like, listen, this isn't what you want to do. the next day someone else was trying to get me to help them with the spot. And I'm like, look, man, just throw me a little bread for this. You keep the build out, you know? And then as soon as he did that, the next day I found the spot that I'm in now in Uptown.
Yeah.
And so I was moving again, you know, I was moving and shaking, and I had the motivation. So I think for me is like, you have to follow your gut. Like when something's not right, like you can't do it. You can't force it. The last thing you should ever do is keep spending time at something that's not working or it's not making you happy. Yeah. Especially for the amount of time that you spend. If you're like, oh, I put 3 years into this, I can't let it go. No, if it's not what you want, you should absolutely let it go. Like, don't go another day, right, you know? Right. But the more you hold on to something, or like it can be a relationship, you know, oh, we've been together so long, you know, I got to just keep sticking with this. No, you don't. Like, you need to be happy, and you need to do what makes you happy. If you can be happy with that person, cool, but you can't keep going the way that you've been going, doing something because of how much time you've put into it.
Yeah. All right.
And at least that's my philosophy. I mean, you know, on it. So I think whenever it comes to, like you said, when it's time to change, absolutely. And also leaving yourself open to change, into opportunities. I mean, even when we did that situation where we finished up the album in LA, you know, that was when COVID was a very real thing during that time. We got back right before everything shut down. It was March, the end of March. You know, but just being open to say, hey, man, I got to take this opportunity. Even if people aren't like supportive of it. You know, as long as you got what you need in place, like you got to go do that. And then by being open to different opportunities, even if it's not the ideal circumstances, mm-hmm. it can give you, you know, you can make things happen, but you will never make anything happen just sitting around not doing it and not taking these chances.
Right.
So I found, you know, I realized like, yeah.
Yeah. Because I think a lot of people deal with that, like in terms of just sitting around and expecting shit to just click at some point, but you don't want to make any actual moves, you know?
We got to make the moves first for them to click.
Right.
That's what people don't understand. It's like, you want, like, ideally I would want, there's like 5 layers to this situation. Mm-hmm. So say it's like moving, like me moving studios. So if I was like, well, I need to have the spot lined up. I need to have it completely designed. I need to have a buyer for the old studio. I need to do this. You know, I need to have whatever else of 6 months worth of rent before I start. Like, all those sound good. But if I'm sitting there waiting for all those to happen, then it's probably not going to happen. But if I was like, yo, I have a situation to cover one of these right now, bam, let's do it. You know, bird in the hand's worth 2 in the bush. So let me take this, and then I got enough confidence in myself, and give myself like a 6-week time frame. Now, in 6 weeks, I got to have a brand new spot. Well, one thing I got now is I got rid of the old spot. That's cool. I got a little capital on hand. Now I can make something shake. Yeah. You know, but if I had said, well, I'm not going to sell this because I don't have this stuff ready yet, then it would have fell through. For sure. But I could have done it, and then the new spot could have fell through. And you know what I mean? So it's a calculated risk, but you'll never, ever get ahead not taking risks.
It's necessary. You got to leap at some point.
Yeah, so you either win or you learn. That's it.
That's a fact. That is a fact. Yeah. Man, I appreciate everything you said. I think one of the things that I've noticed from when we were mixing and all that stuff, just the conversation, is that we had, you're just good at fucking speaking. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just pick up so many gems just being around you, man. And I hope that everybody listening to this can just tell that, like, you're a good orator. Is that the word? Is that the right word?
I don't know.
I bet. I'm just going to go with that.
Yeah. My vocabulary is not super extensive. But, but you know, my man JD, he's a talker, man.
Hell yeah. We got an episode with JD as well, man.
Yeah.
Giving it up.
What'd you call it? Work's not done?
Job's not done.
It's the work's not done episode. Yeah. Job's not done. I like messing it up just to make him, man. And Julian's, what's up, Julian? If you watch, this is my guy too.
Yeah, 100%. You got an episode as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
But, you know, I appreciate the kind words, man. I don't know. The people that influenced me the most in my life are ones that just would have conversations with me. You know, they weren't the best at anything that they did, but they gave me insight into their thought process. Yeah. And I think that that's really invaluable. It's not necessarily what you do, but it's like how you think about what you're doing and how you approach it. Yeah. And, you know, the more that you can share that in a concise manner, is the more you can help people. So I always try to, pay it back because some people, really influenced me in my life just by having good conversations.
Right, right. Nah, 100%. I appreciate that. I think that's one of the biggest things about even COVID that I've just been realizing, just having, especially when it first kicked in, just because you're not just talking to a lot more people and things like that. I just realized how important conversation it is, you know what I mean, just to get these ideas out and just share thoughts with
Hmm.
people. But as I said, beyond appreciative that you're just open and willing to just have these types of conversations because we have many good ones in
Yeah.
the studio, and I'm just happy that now this is
Yeah.
out for the public to be able to hear this.
For sure, for sure. And I think that's what I took away too from what we did so much. It was just awesome to be like, yeah, we were mixing, but we were also hanging out,
Yeah.
or like in the morning, like we'd go to the udon shop, you know what I mean, and eat some cool food. And like, even though it's not really what you guys like, it was at least fun to get
It's a
out and
new
like do
experience. I
something
fuck with
different.
it.
Yeah, yeah. And then like or like I'd hang out with Julian or hang out with JD, and we'd go to like we'd get brunch somewhere and just
Yeah.
have conversations. And so like I got to know you guys, so it got to be less about a paycheck and less about mixing this record as we got to experience a place that neither of us are from,
Yeah.
and we did it together. It's like I haven't got to see New York with you guys yet, which I can't wait.
Bro,
But
you got to.
I got to show you guys North Carolina, got to show you Player Made, we got to show you the mountains, the city, all that stuff. And then when we went to LA, we just like explored it together.
Yeah.
And through those adventures, like we became friends,
Hell yeah.
and me and the whole crew. And it's like that's worth so much more. That experience and just us being friends is worth way more than money. I can always look back on that udon shop and see Julian's face. He was not with those noodles, but it was fun. You know what I mean? Or like hanging out in the morning and with JD and going to my buddy at the that works for the dispensaries and stuff,
Yeah.
and just hanging out with them, or us being in the studio that was like a pirate ship for 5 days. And,
Word.
like we'd get burned out, and we had to stay an extra day when we were already burnt out. And it's like, yeah, at the
Waking
time it
up
was hard,
early.
but yeah,
Yeah, all that
but it's like
shit.
almost like trauma bonding through that. So, yeah,
Nah,
it was fun, man.
yo.
I really appreciate. That was one of my favorite like mixing experiences, hanging out with you guys.
Yeah, yo, that was the first time me mixing a record, like not in my bedroom, and
Hmm.
shit is memorable. I'm never gonna forget any of those moments. You know what I mean? Those they mean a lot to me, and I think they bring so much more weight to that project for me.
Right,
It's like 'cause
right.
everything around that shit is not just me. I
Hmm.
can look at so many people that were a part of that, and it just has so much value to me because of it. And
Good.
from that project, like I've made relationships. Like me working on that project brought me and you in a place where it's like, oh, Kevin's a friend.
Hmm.
Even Maida's on a project, and like that's through that it's the
Yeah.
first time meeting her. Like that's a friend. It's just like a lot of
Yo, she killed it too.
dogs.
Maida did such a good job on that.
It's
So
good as
yeah, man.
fuck, yo.
Yeah,
Yeah, nah,
all
she's
that, man.
elite.
It was. I liked meeting Colin. Colin was really cool.
Hell yeah.
I only got to hang out with him that one time at that spot in West Hollywood, but yeah, I mean, just like how those dots connect randomly. Because I think the one thing to take away from this, and I think that people don't understand about the music industry, is that pretty much everybody's a normal person.
Yeah.
If anything, we're probably a little more introverted than you think we are, and a little more, probably more homebodied than what the perception is
Yeah.
of us. But we're all everybody wouldn't be in the position that they're in if you couldn't work with them or you couldn't deal with them or they weren't cool.
True.
That's what takes you a long way in this. So yeah, man, I just appreciate, like I said, all the people that I got to meet through this, and I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Nah, likewise, man. But as I said, I appreciate your time, man. I know people that listen to this just picked up so many gems. As I said, you're a great conversationalist, and I appreciate you just giving your time to have these conversations, man.
Bro, anytime you want me to just start talking, I'll talk. Just hit me up, man. I promise. I got all kinds of stuff we can talk about.
For sure,
So,
for
but yeah,
sure.
thank you for having me, man.
Of course,
And thank you for
bro.
me being a part of the project, man. That project is in heavy rotation. Every time I work out, I listen to it when I'm in the car. And I haven't really found a lot of projects that I like better than that. And typically, I don't like the stuff I work on. So, props to you in making great music, man.
Thank you, Kev. Thank you. Shit, let people know where to follow you, where they find you at, and we get out of here.
Yeah, man. Really, Instagram is the only thing I'm active on. It's at BlackPearlMixedIt. If you really need to get in contact, you can reach out to HD or JD or Julian and all those guys. Brandon. They can connect the dots for you. But yeah,
For sure.
BlackPearlMixedIt on Instagram.
All right, word. So y'all go follow BlackPearlMixedIt, aka Kev. Again, appreciate you, my brother. Thank you for your time. And this has been another episode of BeenDopeSpeaks. I'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace. Thank you for listening to BeenDopeSpeaks. Subscribe anywhere that you listen to podcasts. And make sure you hit me up on all socials at HD BeenDope. Peace.